Hello, beautiful peeps. It's right. Kelly Hall. Hello, Kelly and Ash. Good evening. And hello, good evening, Karen McAllister. Lisa, how you doing? Lisa Murray, I do believe it's going to be 11 degrees in Perth tomorrow. I have it on good authority. So you might need an extra scarf or two. Would you look at this hair today? Oh my gosh. Must be getting ready for some kind of... what do they call it? Conniption or something. Anyway, it's horrible. Yes, I thought you'd love that, Lisa. 11 degrees, magical, isn't it? God, that really isn't going to work. Anywho, good evening, one and all. It's a thrill to be here with you this evening, and I have got some pretty cool stuff to talk to you about. You know, I can't stand people messing with their hair and their face when they go on things. Thank you, Karen McAllister. Jean Hartman, good evening to you, love. All day, logged in an hour earlier. Wow, Karen. Well, I've been getting ready for you for some time, and I've got some really cool stuff to share with you tonight. Positively balmy, yeah, I reckon. So hold on to your hats tonight. Truly, I've got some really interesting insights and some really cool soul stuff for you tonight. Now, I want to say right up front that if anything that is said tonight makes you screw your nose up or harumph or go, oh, I'm leaving, please just harumph through that. Don't leave, but instead ask your soul to come forward and white up that which is making you harumph, screw your nose up, or want to run away. Because the part of you that will harumph and want to go is, and see, I've used a word that I want to talk about tonight, but that is the conditioned part of you. That is what I have coined from the divine, the earth mind, but that is the conditioned mind. And we don't want that involved tonight, okay? Because some of the insights that I have for you must be able to get through to your true self, which is your soul. So, want to address some of the most common questions or wants that people have when they reach out to me. And one of most of all is, hello, Joy, welcome, and perfect timing, Joy, although you missed the harumph bit. But anyway, hold on to your hat tonight, Joy. The most common things that people reach out for is because they're in grief over the loss of a loved one. And they want to know if that loved one is all right. They want to know where they've gone. They want to know how they can hear or connect with their loved one. And then a little bit higher up than that is, how do I hear my guides? How do I hear the angels? How do I know if I'm being heard, if I'm being answered? Now, right off the bat, I'm going to say to you, those questions come from the conditioned mind. Now, you have been deliberately conditioned, deliberately, and there's a reason for that. There is also the aspect that when you come back for this life or you incarnate again, that there is what's called an amnesia. Maybe I could sit on the fence with that too. But we do not have ready access to our Akashic records. Don't care what the spiritual people want to tell you. And we do not have our higher divinity awareness. It is most certainly, I'm going to say, dimmed down, ready for this world. Now, the understanding across the board is that we incarnate to have lessons which bring us to soul growth, which bring us through to maybe a higher awareness. We come for lessons that are around karmic debt. That's funny because we create karma every day. So, sorry, I'm listening at the same time and it's flat out tonight because of the way things are shifting and the transition that is happening. There is such a lot of dialogue that is being brought through. So I'm listening flat out while trying to keep up with everything to share with you. So going back to those initial questions, where is my loved one? And I did a house clearing last Wednesday, whatever it was, in a very, very old suburb of Perth. So if that was last week, you've already heard about it. And no, you haven't. Sorry, I jumped a timeline. There was a young man residing in the bedroom of the young man who is in this world. And when I was explaining to the family about what I'd found when I was doing the house clearing, the young man was very excited that he had a cool dude, his words, a cool dude in his room. And I said, well, he's not there anymore. It's like, oh. And his question, this young man is 16, his question was, well, where does he go? And what happens with him now? And I really like that question from a young person. Open and willing to receive. So I explained to him what it's like, where we go. And the lady who is tenant of the house, she was saying she had read somewhere that there's this place in heaven where the soul goes, where it can sort of have healing and, be renewed. And I said, oh, yes, well, I call that hospital in heaven so that I can put it in earthly terms for people to understand. And it's a healing plane in the heavens where you will first go to be able to release any baggage and pain and any kind of suffering that may have been experienced in the incarnated life. Then you move on, and you may also go to the Akashic records, which I call your library of heaven. And that's where you get to sit and watch your life, the video, the movie of your life. There you can see choices you made that, led you down a path that you went, oh, what was I thinking there? There you can see how you come to make those choices. And I'm going to reference the message that my nephew Jack brought in because it was just brilliant. And he was saying to his mum through me that he now had understanding of why he could not be helped in this world and why things were the way they were because of his life experience from the age of 0, this is his word, 0 to 9. 0 to 9. And then I realized where Jack was and said, you're not supposed to be out of there. You're sitting in your Akashic records of life. And Jack, you are meant to stay there until you have finished watching. And he goes, my soul or my life, Auntie, my rules. That didn't work. He was called back and he wanted to know what was going on when all of his energy started to shimmer and kind of fractionate. That's a new word, fractionate. We'll make up any word these days because I'm getting to that. So that was wonderful confirmation. And as I was saying to my sweetheart today, I don't need confirmation. My faith is unwavering. There is no hesitancy with me whatsoever in being aligned divinely, or divinely aligned. Grammar's all over the shop. So when people ask these questions, in a nutshell, you have been led to believe that there are all these different parts of you. You've been led to believe that you have, hi Kim Jane, welcome. You have all these different parts of you, unconscious mind, subconscious mind, conscious mind, your spirit, your soul, your higher self, the oversoul. What else is there? All these things. Oh, the ego. How could I forget the ego? In this world, this is a world of duality and polarity. There is no way that we can fully live outside of that. However, we can learn to be the observer. And when you are in the observer role, you are in a much more empowered place. And you can do that through accessing and being aligned to your divinity with the oneness, therefore with your soul. Now, when you want to be able to connect with loved ones, when you want to be able to connect with angels, with your guides, there are also noises around that you have a starseed family, that you have a star family, that you have a galactic council, yada, yada, lots of different things. To be able to connect with any of that, you must be able to be out of your mind. Yeah, not out of your mind. Like, no, not that kind of out of your mind. You must be able to move from the mind to a higher level of consciousness. Duality, polarity, deliberately constructed in this world to distract. Deliberately constructed in this world for you to lose your powerful ability to be who you truly are. Who would want to do that? Who would want to have you segmented, have you all over the shop and believe that there's all these different aspects of yourself that are kind of out there and everywhere? Thank you, Lisa. Being guided, being brought through. I knew it was going to be rather exciting in a lot of ways. Well, when you are able to align with your divinity and you are able to be the observer, you can actually know the answer to that question. The biggest question people ask is, but why? Okay, here's the good bit. But why? Well, you incarnate into this world because there are experiences for expansion. However, in this world, there is constructs. Listen to the word construct. So when something is constructed, it is constricted. It's like a contract. If you're contracted, then you are pulled in tight. How do you feel when you read the fine print of a contract you've signed? Choking, suffocating. So this has all been orchestrated. And now I'm going to reference the blue pill, the red pill, for those who know the Matrix. Is there such, yes, control. Is there such a thing as the matrix? To right there is. You're sitting in it. So for you to navigate your life, it is necessary for you to understand who you truly are. Now, the play on words in recent years, or maybe 20 years, is what has really brought people unstuck. The huge uprise of the spirituality, spiritual communities, spiritual this, and I can't even say that, special spiritual tonight, is what has actually created a lot more disturbance for people to be able to be aligned. For me, it has always been simple, practical. But even when I bring simple, practical practices for people, they want to wander off and find something else that sounds so much more amazing. And all that does is bring more fragmentation. All that does is make them look further outside. Now, I absolutely agree that we find the people that we can relate to. We find thank you, Kelly, we find where our soul goes, yay, party time, I'm home. But the soul is so uncomplicated. Now, soul, spirit, oversoul, higher self, greater self, same thing. Same thing. Bringing all these new words in has created the opportunity for there to be so much dissection and leveraging in the spiritual communities and spiritual, whatever you want to call them. Totally unnecessary. But when I asked today to be shown what that is about, I've got to tell you, I sat back and went, oh, this is just, makes me do that. Makes me roll my eyes and go, for goodness sake. Polarity, duality. These are the doors that open confusion. These are the doors that create distraction. So, let's think about putting the word higher self into a beautiful, glittery appearance. And over here is the word soul. But, it's just in bold letters, just in there. But over here, glittery, catching, higher self. And through your higher self, you can be this. And then over here, soul. Oh, yeah, your soul's eternal. Your soul's expansive. Yeah. Which one do you go to? And don't fib. It is a natural response because of the way this world is, how it's constructed, for us to go to the pretty things, the glittery things. So it's all about the higher self. And yes, I use the words. You know why? Because everyone's been led to believe that's what they need to hear. That's what they need to chase. When I teach, however, I do not separate. And there's our next word. All of these things have been created through the control and the contraction to make you feel as if you are all fragmented. And therefore, you've got to find yourself. You've got to come back. Oh, my gosh, how am I going to bring all of those pieces of myself back together? Well, let me tell you, you are back together. Your soul, yes, it can be fragmented through trauma. Yes, it can be fragmented through tremendous sickness that brings trauma, but that is not the separateness that is created through believing you've got to find your higher self, find your oversoul. Oh my God, my ego. Oh, my ego's running the show. Oh, my mind, I can't quieten my mind. I have such a noisy mind. Yeah, because you're living in this construct and listening to the rubbish. But those things are not separate to you. So bringing wholeness, and it's funny, when I was a personal trainer, I used to talk about fit for living. This was my tagline: fit for living, well for life through wholeness. Little did I know what they had planned for me further down the track. Fit for living, well for life. Can you get your head in that? What do you mean by fit for living? Well, fit for living, so I would do the spiritual thing with people, with my clients. I did the whole picture. So we are not all these different bits that need to be making a whole. We are already whole. What it is that we have been led to believe that we have these separate parts of ourselves. When I reference you are sitting in your mind, well, that's not saying that your mind is not part of you. It is saying that you are too much in your mind, the mind that is of this world, the construct mind, rather than understanding how to hear your soul. Soul, spirit, higher self, oversoul, whatever you want to call it. The essence of you is divine. And there is no separation. So what if, I feel like this goes back to what I always say about a little bit of knowledge is dangerous. Yeah, Lisa. Seeing too much of it now. You wait till I get to the really exciting part for tonight. So the play on words in recent times, and especially in the last 3 years. Now, one of my ladies on tonight, if she's still here, was in the very early part of the School of Wesh for the Seeker. And one of the modules in that is about magic. And she was quite uncomfortable with that. But the thing is, magic is misunderstood. Magic is everything your soul knows. But you see, you've been led to believe magic is bad. But if we want to put it into the soul perspective, the soul creates magic. It is magic because it's miraculous. And magic is miraculous. There's been a lot of hubbub about spelling, teaching kids learning to spell is learning to do magic. Well, here's the kicker. Every time you speak, you create a spell. It's not rocket science, and it's not what it is being misrepresented to make. So to get people's head around that, it's been necessary to say, to understand the power of your words, to understand the power of your thoughts is how you change your life. To understand the power of your thoughts is how you can begin your self-healing journey. To understand the power of your words is to manifest anything you want. Well, in a nutshell, people, that is magic. That is using spells. Be careful of your thoughts and words. And Kelly says we've been taught that magic is outside of ourselves. Good reason for that, goes hand in hand with everything that has made us be distracted from the powerful beings that we are, from the power within. It's all part and parcel. So the important part of this is when people ask me, how do I connect with angels? How do I hear my guides? How do I hear my soul? It all comes down to all of that. What is it? What is the magic that you are using every single day? How do you use your words, your thoughts? Do you believe that you have such a noisy mind you can't get past it? Well, there you go. You've just created a spell for yourself, doing your own magic on yourself. It's probably a good way to learn. Being an old witch at hand, it makes me laugh. So when we're looking at expansion, which is what the soul comes for, it is able to achieve that through the experiences of this world. But that does not mean the experiences must be painful, that the experiences must be suffering. They are only suffering and painful for as long as you want to stay in that construct. As soon as you make a determination, a spell to manifest the opposite of what you're experiencing, everything shifts. Are you ever not answered? No. Do you always hear the answers? Absolutely not. Would you agree? So, language, use of words, they have been messed with, manipulated with the specific target of bringing you into separateness and division within yourself. Daily practices are an absolute must. Understanding your own spell work through your thoughts, through your words, through your actions. This is where you learn to align to your divinity. Is it that simple? Yeah. Is it that simple? No. Yes, it is, when you want to apply without arguing with yourself. When you want to do these daily practices and align without believing in the rubbish the mind spews out all the time. When you want to hear soul, spirit, higher self, oversoul, what else is there? You listen in silence, because the soul, spirit, higher self, higher consciousness, subconscious, inner conscious, all the words that all mean the same thing, is actually very quiet. And it speaks in shapes, it speaks in feelings, it speaks quietly, so beautifully, subtly. And there is no way you can hear it when the noise of the mind is running amok. There is no way you can hear it if you are plugged in all the time. Is this to reduce our power so we're more easily controlled? Absolutely. Absolutely. So you only have to look at the masses to see how easily controlled the masses are. Yes, speaks in shapes. So geometric shapes, patterns, and what it's doing is it is bringing you through to align you with that belongs to your soul. Your mind does not know. So that question in itself, Lisa, was a question from the mind. If, however, when I began tonight, I said, open to your soul and ask your soul to receive what comes through tonight, because there's going to be quite a bit that I haven't got to yet that is going to make you harumph, want to move away, want to go, oh, rubbish. That is not your soul. Questions like speaks in shapes, why can't we have more of this? Why can't I do more of that? Are all coming from the mind. They are not questions of the soul. So you ladies on here that have worked with me, what do I say all the time? Mandy, you know my famous line. Lisa, so do you. The mind asks, the soul knows. The soul does not ask questions. It doesn't need to. It has a knowingness. When you decide to welcome the guidance of your soul, there are no questions, because it doesn't need to ask. Good evening, Linda, and welcome. Now, here is the other thing that is really important tonight. It's all hand in hand. And this is quite serious. Several weeks ago, I channeled through a blog post about the earth is transitioning and humanity is transitioning. A lot of humans will be left behind. A lot of people will be left behind because they are so caught up in this construct. They are so believing of the busyness, so believing of the propaganda through the media, and spending so much time with phones in their hands, tablets in their hands, that they have no realization of what they are doing. Totally unconscious. So something that was brought to me yesterday to share with you this evening. Back in one of the world wars, the US discovered that Russia was using psychics to find out war plans, strategies, where spies were, who the spies were. Go figure. Government, who want to take everything away that is natural, this natural healing, mess with food and all the rest of it. And yet, back then, the government knew how powerful a psychic could be. And so they used them. They also used them for their own experimentation because they wanted to understand why these psychics were different to the ordinary person. And they wanted to understand if they could make the ordinary person be manipulated like that. So they set about doing experiments on them. Yes, Jean. And what they come to find was nothing short of incredible. What's more incredible is what they did with what they found. Listen carefully to these insights. So America, or USA, when they found out what the Russians were doing, we're not going to be beaten. So they joined the same thing. However, they wanted to take it to a different level because they wanted to obviously beat the Russians. So the American government launched through the CIA, launched a program called Gateway. They also have the, was it Kelly? I sent it to you the other week, MPK something. And you can read about these things because at some point it was decided that they would release it for public knowledge, whereas previously it was all hidden and they didn't want the public to know what they were doing. And the reason for that was they had discovered that they could manipulate the behavior of their soldiers and all of their combat people through frequency and subliminal messages. Anybody do binaural beat meditations or Hertz meditations? That's what it is. Yes, MK Ultra, thank you. Yeah, they trained their military. Now think about what has been going on for mere public, ordinary civilians. Ever since the television came along, what have they used? And to what purpose have they used it? So then we have a look at what's gone on in the last 3 years. And what did they use most of all? Fear. Fear is mankind's greatest weakness. Fear is something that what's called the ego part of you will jump to the fore over 1,000% to protect you. And the ego will take control of you, therefore of the mind, because its job is to look after you. Its job is to keep you safe. So what were the words used in the last 3 years? Keeping you safe while generating fear. Think about the MK Ultra, the Gateway Project, and everything I was just telling you about, what the governments of Russia and the USA and Australia have done, where they learnt how to manipulate frequency. Now, some of you know that I've spoken before about the amazing surge of sound healings and people doing these sound healings popping up like mushrooms everywhere. What a lot of people don't know is who was doing that and how they have learnt to manipulate the vibrations, the frequency from those sound bowls to create behavioral changes in the people who receive them. Sound bowl healing is incredible. It's also incredibly dangerous. Only has to be in the wrong hands. So back in the day, there was also what were called sleepers. Any of you heard of sleepers? And they could be, there's actually a movie called, I think it's Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And you could have neighbours who were the perfect neighbours, the perfect couple, amazing in the community, and bam, they were instant killers. All it took was a phone call, and these were planted spies. These were assassins put in place by the respective government, and guess what? It still goes on, but they don't call them sleepers. And what was the word that everybody was, not everybody, sorry, those that wanted to think of themselves as awake in the last 3 years were referring to the sleeping sheep, the sheeple, the sleepers. Different, same word, different meaning. So what came through yesterday is that they are about to ramp up frequency and using frequency. So if you want to be part of this transition into the new world, then this is the time for you to become the light and become soul aligned. There are no two ways about it. It is the time for you to learn to be aligned. Now, if you're going to ask me a question right off, you're in your mind. The soul knows, the mind asks. The soul has a knowingness. The soul is powerful. You are powerful. But as soon as you step into doubt, worry, fear, overwhelm, anxiety, you couldn't be further away from being aligned with your soul. And as you know, that's what I work with, that's what I teach. Being aligned with your soul means that you know how to use your gifts. It means you know how to recognize the gifts of your soul, the gifts of your divinity, and you know how to work them in your life. So God helps those who help themselves, Linda. So it is time for you to make that decision. Are you going to ride the wave of transition, or are you going to be dumped and left in the murkiness of the matrix? And the matrix is already murky. So the wonderful part of this is Mother Earth. The Earth is transitioning as humans are transitioning, because our frequency must align with her, or with Mother Earth, Gaia, for us to be able to evolve and for the Earth to be able to regenerate. I don't particularly like words that have re or pre or dis or pro or whatever on them, because they're actually disempowering. There's one right there. They actually remove you from being empowered, because it confuses the soul. When you use words like I am disempowered, I am unbalanced, the soul is not familiar with those words. Same as the angels and the guides. They are not familiar with those words. They are only familiar with whole words that represent your wholeness and your holiness. Not holes like Edam cheese. No, not those kind of holiness. But you have a holiness to you, your divinity. That is where all of the empowerment is. So to transition, we need to have greater alignment with the frequency of the earth. So if you can visualize that the earth has an electromagnetic field, which any of you have done science and so forth, what's that other word? Then biochemistry, then you will know that there is a force field around the earth. There's more than one, just like there's more than one within you and external to you. And when you are aligned and you bring yourself into alignment and you assist the frequency of the earth to rise, you therefore have assisted the frequency of yourself to rise, and you rise above the murky matrix. And the wholeness of you is what is embodied and becomes the way that life is for you. there are so many different explanations of this by many different people. So if I mention Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dolores Cannon, Edgar Casey. There's a very, very, very old, she was amazing actually, and way before her time, woman. I must find it and reference her for you, because it's incredible to think that this particular lady I'm thinking of was even allowed to be public with what she could do, because her era really, she went against everything that women were permitted to do in her era, and yet they could not fathom how incredible she was. And this particular lady was even able to show that she could put her hands through solid things. She was able to, no, it's not Dawn Hill Karen. She's got an unusual name. She was way beyond the time of then, and possibly even of now for most people. But it's incredible that she was allowed to bring things forward. So you've got all these different people out there that explain these things, but in different ways, and use fancy words so that, like I said at the start, let's put your higher self in gold and glitter it up and make it all beautiful, and then put soul over here. It looks pretty boring, nobody wants to go there, because you've been conditioned to go to the glitzy things or what looks more fancy. So you get these people like Joe Dispenza and so forth that use the big fancy words and make it really sciencey. So, and that's another thing that you've been conditioned to believe in and to follow. Dare I say that? Follow the science. So all of these things have duality to them. So the call for you now is to become the observer. Sit back and observe what it is that you're taking notice of external to yourself. Observe how many things you use that actually take you away from being able to hear your soul speak, your soul's language. So the soul doesn't speak language, because language is a construct of this construct, because we have to have some way to speak, because when we're here, most of us don't have the ability of telepathy. The soul speaks in emotions, or sorry, not emotions, in feelings, and the soul speaks in pure love, and pure love is an all-consuming feeling. It's nothing more. And I don't mean nothing as in, throw it out the window. There is no greater feeling than unconditional love. In fact, I had the in sensations, yeah, and it also speaks in what I called shapes, but it speaks in patterns, right? And your soul knows what those things mean. Your mind doesn't need to, because the mind is for here. And if we were to think that the mind, as soon as we're thinking, we're in the mind. So if we were to think, how can I observe this? If we were to think, show me how I can see this more clearly. If we were to think, show me how I can see this from a higher perspective, now you're calling in the soul. But when you're asking why, what, different story. That's all from the mind. So you are not separate. You are whole. And if you can work with that, then you're going to bring the power of your soul forward. But if you refer to yourself as separate parts, now you're in the mind. Now you're in the conditioned mind. Oh, my body does this. My body does that. My mind says my mind's too noisy. My mind does this, does that. You are in the mind-body construct, which is a created construct of this world. The question many people have is, well, this is all too confusing. Why am I like this, and how am I going to be out of this? Observe. Become the observer. Sit back. Watch yourself. Listen to the spells you put out. Listen to what it is that you are manifesting. And then change the channel. Make a decision. Make a decision and act on it. Change the channel. This is not what I want to manifest. This is not who I want to be. Better still, this is who I know myself not to be. So it's powerful stuff. And it is now time for you to really delve into your frequency and call upon the frequency of your soul. Align yourself with it and align yourself with the earth. And this will keep you out of the murkiness of what's going on in the matrix. Become part of this incredible transition, this amazing transition that the earth and humanity are going through. And come on into the new world. You know, it will be awesome. That's right, Karen. It's very right. Doesn't look that crooked, but hey, it's got a split pathway. So Y has got two legs to it, two pathways. And then what do we have? A T-junction. T-junction when we drive, T-junction in our thoughts. We come crashing to a T-junction and think, well, I don't know if I want to go left or right. And then what do we have now? Roundabouts. God, love a duck. So many people don't know how to drive on them, and I often wonder what's in their mind. So these things are really the way forward for you presently. If you find yourself in conversations that are talking about what has already been and what's been going on, and I'm going to use an example here of a movie that's making the rounds at the moment, and how very clever is the timing of this movie, because nobody with a good heart and a true human soul wants to see children harmed. And the last thing people want to know is about the sex trafficking and trafficking of children, right? Slavery of children. So have you all heard of the movie that's doing the rounds and everyone's making a big fuss about? Sit back and observe. Have a look at the timing of this movie coming out. We're only just coming out the other side of a horrendous 3 years. And now what do they put in front of you? A movie like that. And what does that do? Raises everybody's emotional frailties, everybody's emotional Achilles heels, because it's about children. Don't go and see it, because if you go and see it, you are feeding into the plan and you are going to be captured by that murkiness of the matrix. Don't support it. Shift your awareness. Shift where you are putting your spells to. Yes, Kelly, it's a huge distraction and a dangerous one. So That's right, Linda. Have no interest in seeing it. The fact is that stuff goes on. And the fact is it has gone on since the day dot. You know, when I was a kid, we first had a television, we would see those ads for World Vision and see all the little starving Biafrans. That's the one, Mandy. Yeah, thank you. We would see all the starving Biafrans, and they were asking in a sponsored child, World Vision. Here we are, 2023. So, well, I was 8 or 9 when we first got a television. That's some decades ago now. And there they were pleading for people to sponsor a child, and, you know, they couldn't get water, they didn't have food. 2023, and they are still advertising. Really? And we have advanced so far? No, not at all. So all of those things have always gone on and always will. But where your focus goes is how you contribute to the evolution of the collective of humanity. So if your focus is on that murky muck and anything like that, and all your energy goes into it, then you're not going to be able to be part of the evolving of humanity. Now, I have to say here that if that is what your calling is, and if that is the vibration that rocks you, that is where you want to be, then that is your choice. However, it is not a choice that takes mankind forward. The way that we prevent those things, those kinds of activities from continuing to flourish, is by becoming more soul aligned. That's the only way we stamp out that kind of darkness. By getting caught up in it, we're not going to do anything other than feed it. So, yes, go for a walk in nature instead, and go for a walk without being plugged in. Go for a walk without your phone. Go for a walk knowing that you are safe. Oh, Lord, there's that word. Go for a walk knowing that you will go home again feeling invigorated, inspired, and aligned. To say, and we all do it, right? Somebody's going on a trip. Oh, safe travels. Well, the flip side of that is that you're assuming that something's going to go wrong. But we've been taught to say those things. Wish someone a safe trip. You're effectively wishing or acknowledging that there's bad stuff. Well, we all know that there is a chance of something happening, but others of us also know we can call on divine protection. And there you go, you can turn that one around and go, well, if you're asking for protection, then you're assuming something's going to happen. Do you see the duality, the polarity of this world? Yeah, in the sunlight. Beautiful. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed that. Thank you, Joy. Fabulous, Karen McAllister. Thank you. Thank you very much. So this is a very important time of transition. And I hope that tonight has been inspiring for you, and that there has been some aha moments, and that you will now look at the way you cast spells, that you do magic every day for what you're manifesting, not manifesting, and to be soul aligned. divinely aligned. You can't go wrong. It's the best way to live. My beautician asked me today, didn't she do a beautiful job? My beautician asked me, thanks, Lisa, that's great. You're welcome, Kelly. How come I haven't been sick? She goes, you haven't been sick at all. What's your secret? She says. And I couldn't resist. I said, well, I believe in prayer and I believe in faith. She didn't give me a very positive look. But it's the truth. I do believe in prayer and I believe in God. And I believe in the power of my own soul and my divinity. And I hope that you do too. So thank you all for coming. Thanks for kisses, Mandy. I hope you had a few chuckles along the way too. Now that's a tricky sentence, Lisa, because your soul, the guides, the angels, don't understand the word don't, so they cross it out. Did you all know that? Your soul is not aligned with the word don't. Neither are the guides and angels. So they're like, okay, and they don't see it. Just becomes, I believe in being sick. And also that comment that mentioned, words are so powerful. Especially the word don't. Thank you, Karen. Awesome stuff. So I was thrilled when that's what came through for talking tonight and finding out what the importance of the insights were yesterday about frequency and the manipulation of frequency. Be aware, be very aware, and take yourself to your divinity. Loads of love to all. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next week. Unless, of course, I get to see you in the community, in the society. That'd be awesome too. Bye for now.